This is Justin Amazon on Friday, January 8th, 2021. Taking a look at the 5 minute on Amazon and also the 3165 call, the 3165 put. These are the lines I was drawing in during the day as the chart was moving along and making a little bit of adjustments to them. I started by drawing, a line and then, seeing it drop down a little bit and see if we can kind of connect the lows and see if we can connect some highs here. And similar here, have a couple lows come in, and that made a really nice support that got broken over here and retested and went along sideways a little bit. And you can see what's going on the 5 minute on the stock. At first, I had this line drawn in, just connecting the high here to the high here. And when this candle was coming in, I was actually in a trade. So actually, let me stop and jump over to what that trade was. This was a really nice inverted hammer, and I thought, okay, maybe I'm not going to get the target that I want. So what I had set up is looking for a bounce off of the lows here, seeing that it was a really similar price to the low it put in over here. And I thought, okay, it'll probably go a little bit lower than this price. So I actually got in 450 by 350. So $100 risk, got in at 450, filled at, I think it was 1053. I think it was 1053. So it was in this candle and it pulled back a little bit more. Um, but I was in for 450 and it moved up pretty quick, came right back down to 450 or almost, and then got going. And then it made this inverted hammer on the option and also on the stock. And at this point, I thought, okay, maybe we are hitting this as resistance. It's not going to push through. I didn't have this line drawn in at that point. So I was totally going off of this line. Decided after this candle came in, I would move my stop up below here to see if it pulled back anymore. And wait, let's see which. No, this candle. No, after this candle came in, I moved my stop up uh, while this candle was forming. And while this candle was forming, let's see. Yeah, I got stopped out or trailed out because I still made a profit, and I got trailed out for nearly 3R. So the price I exited was 745. So I got a little bit. I had the stop set at 750. So a 3R gain. It pulled back a little bit more, pulled back another R, which I was happy to be out at 750 when it pulled all the way back to 650. And I really thought about getting back in as it moved up through 750. Had I not moved my stop and just let it run, my target was actually up here at 1250. I thought it would run up a little quicker, wouldn't have this dip in here. And actually, I had been watching the 3165 put earlier. I tried to get in 8 by 7, missed this little wick here, and missed out on this trade running straight up. And I was looking for a target of 15 right up in here. So that would have been an 8-hour trade that I missed. So I was going for an 8-hour trade this way, move my stop, and stop myself out or trailed out for a profit. So I was only up for about 3R and was looking for another opportunity to get in. So once it pushed up here, I drew in this line. So I left this one in place, drew this line, and I kind of liked this line a little bit better because it had a similar slope up. Sorry, this line has a similar slope down to this line having the slope up, which makes a bit more of a symmetric triangle. So once I drew this in, kind of connecting these highs, and this high was coming in, I'm like, okay, it should hold this level. It should hold this level. Let's see if it can roll over. And when it rolls over, I'm going to get into the put. And I did. And it was not very much longer. I did not have to wait very, very long. I got in 7 by 6 over here somewhere. I think, which one was the low here? So this low, one of these candle, let's see. Oh, 697. No, 690. Okay, the low is 695. I think that's when I got in. I think that was, I must have been filled on at the $7 price on this candle because that's as far as it went down. I almost got the bottom. Okay. That normally doesn't happen. Went sideways a little bit, and then started to go. And this time I decided, okay, when it, as this is going sideways here, I'm like, I'm not moving my stop. I'm going to let it run, even though I thought on the stock it could actually S curve and continue to bounce back up. Instead, it didn't, broke down. And as this candle started to form, not this one, this candle started to form, I had already had the target set. So again, looking for 8 hours. So I was in at 7, getting out at 15, and I'm watching the price move, and all of a sudden it just jumped right past 15, and it was on its way up to like 17 or 18 almost. And checked the broker, and sure enough, I had been filled at with slippage, positive slippage this time, 1539. And so that made for an 8.39 R trade. And so at this point, I'm up, what is that, 10, 11, a little more than 11, a little more than 11 R for the day with 2 trades. So I thought that's great. Maybe I won't take another one. Maybe I'll see if I can get another trade. And because it was consolidating down in here, and every day this week, well, not every day, but the last 2 days we've rolled over. I thought there's a chance this could roll over. And I was looking at, let's see, where this price had broken down. So I was looking at where this price had broken down through the low. And when we've seen this the last couple of days, the call continues to drop. And at that point, the put goes up. And so I was looking at a different put. I was looking at the 3155 put, just to have a little bit of a lower cost to this and give it a little more chance to move. And so let me see if I can set this up. So I didn't jump over to this and draw any lines, but over in here, I set up 4x3, and pretty much I was wrong right away. I think it was this. Yeah, it did not take long for me to be wrong in this one. So I got in 4x3. I don't know the exact time I was filled, and it just when this candle came, so this didn't roll over. It didn't roll back down and continue lower. It made that candle, and that's the candle. I'm pretty sure that stopped me out. My price that I exited was 298. So only got $2 of slippage there. So ended up with, and that was the last trade. The last hour of the day, I was tied up with other things, could not catch this move, which after being stopped out of this put, I would definitely be looking at a call again. Probably would have jumped over to 3175. Let's see what this one looked like. So 3175 call. Yeah, that has some nice lows in there. Look at how sideways this is. It keeps pulling back to like the $2 to $3 range. Yeah, this is what I would have gotten into. So getting it set up 3x2 as it's going sideways here. Again, this put is just dropping in value. The 3165, which is closer, it's still out of the money, but the 3165. Oh yeah, and this, oops, I went back and zoomed out and saw, okay, there's kind of a downtrending line here that this touches, so I thought, we should get to this price, possibly, but that's beyond my 8R target when I was in this move here. But that gave me some more confidence to see, okay, we should get up to something like this or this angle, something like that. We didn't quite get all the way up to this one, but still, that was why, I had my target set at 15. So anyway, over here, the put's just dropping in value. It consolidates a little bit here, continues to drop. So like this price where it's putting in another low here, it's still sideways. It's still indecisive here, even though the put's starting to break down. And even on the call, it's still in the $2 to $3 range. Even this candle, it's in the low is still in the $2 to $3 range. So even as it's going sideways here, you can be buying 3x2 or even maybe 250 by 150 and get into a 3175 call, which is only $5 out of the money. Like, that's the amazing thing. It only has to move a little bit, and the option just roars. So if you're in at 3, which this is what I missed. I was not able to watch the last hour today. It ran from 3, um, and again, if you're setting, like an 8-hour target, like I was doing, 3 plus 8 is 11. That would have been way up here, which is close to these highs. So that would have been a really nice place to actually exit. And that that took 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes. That would have been 30 minutes in the trade. You can, at that point, move your stop or just get out because you're right at expiration. But this is where those, mega moves happen where, it's the last day of the week. It's options expiring same day. You got to be careful with, what you're doing, making sure you're watching it when you're in the trade, because it can go against you, and you don't want to have any issues with your broker, exiting the position for you. That does happen. You want to be watching those and making sure you're taking the action you need to before it expires, or just don't trade right up into the last few minutes. It takes a lot of discipline to do that. It's something I'm getting better at myself. um, I'll practice on other days that aren't expiration days and be exiting right at 2:59 Central Time, just to help me build that muscle. But there's always the chance you can have a computer glitch, or you can't get it up on your phone or on another computer. And, like, those are things that can happen. You obviously don't want to have that happening in the last few minutes right before it expires. So do take caution when you're doing this kind of stuff. But like I said, ultimately today, um, I got over 10R, and just was able to really follow along with what was happening, comparing between the calls, the puts, and the stock to really see some great moves coming in. And so the other thing I noticed, I want to share here is, so the last 2 days we gapped down, ran up for 25 minutes. Actually, the last 3 days we did that, right? So we ran up for 25 minutes, ran up for 25 minutes, ran up for 25 minutes. Today we opened a little bit up, but then dropped. So I knew something different was going to happen. That was the first indication. We didn't open and rally the same. Um, After that first 25 minutes, the last 2 days, we really went sideways. Same thing happened today. We just had a wider range. But I was looking for this kind of, just oscillation here, and just the back and forth, just bouncing back and forth and forming this triangle. And it's similar to what we did the last 2 days. And then looking for that rollover into the close, I thought it would still do that. It didn't do that back on Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursday both did it. And then today, instead of rolling over, it rallied. So maybe I should have thought it should rally because it opened different and then had the same middle and should have had a different ending. Maybe I don't know. Had I been able to, carve out this time today and really trade this live, I think I would have gotten a few R's, on this kind of a bullish run. And that's why I jump over. Looking at the 3165 is great, but the risk is harder here. It's getting closer to expiration. There's some bigger candles here. There's not as clear of a level, and I just deleted all the lines, but there's not as clear of a level that it's going to hold. And so if you want to reduce that risk and get into something that you've got smaller candles to deal with, first of all, so like these are all much smaller range candles, less than $1 range, or you can go a little bit more out of the money. Again, this is a challenge too, because you could be buying this, let's see, the lows nearly absolute zero, so you can't quite get absolute zero, which would be just risking the exact R value of $100. So it doesn't quite get there here, but it's a lot easier to, really just limit your exposure to say, okay, I'm going to get in at 150 and have a stop at 50, or I'm sorry, 150 and 0.5, and see what happens. And like, even this, getting in at 150 and just being able to exit, if it drops down to 0.5, like it hadn't been, the low here was 1. So the low all this time, it really put in a nice low base here. And so that was at $1. That's your extra buffer here. That's what I thought I got on the 31.55 price when I was entering this, and we were putting in this sideways, 3 candles here. I thought I was getting a bit more of a buffer entering at 4 because we hadn't been anywhere near 3. I thought that was a good range to say, okay, we shouldn't even come down and touch 3. Well, then sure enough, that next candle we did. And so that was, I know I'm zooming all around now, but this candle was that candle. I didn't expect that strong of a candle come in when it did. And it's nearly a Marbozu. I mean, there's a little tiny wick below and above because the open and the low are 4 cents away, and the high and the close are 31 cents away. So it's basically a Marbozu, which is another example, just a strong candle coming out of indecision to say, we're going higher. So I'm happy to be stopped out of that candle. And like I said, I would have been jumping in, or maybe not jumping right in the next candle, but letting some of this sideways action play out, waiting for the option to say, okay, it's ready for that kind of explosive move. And that's what we've been talking about all this week. So go back and watch those videos where you don't have to be in directionally with the option right away. You can wait a little longer, let it play out. And on a Friday, things play out differently because the market makers are trying to get all of the premium sucked out of the options, but it has to bake the premium back in as soon as it moves. So that's why you have a really low value option that's only $10 away out of the money, and in 10 minutes it moved in the money. Literally, it's got to be worth something because it's in the money. And that's the explosive move it had here. So it went from being $1.50 all the way to being $5, and then all the way up to being almost $10 when it hit 31.90 in less than an hour. So in 45 minutes it made this kind of a move, and the option went 10x, almost 10x. Yeah, almost 10x. Let's say 9x, something like that, right? So 150 up to 9 is 6x. So I'm thinking it's a $1. Let's see what the 31.85 did. 31.85. So this was less than $1. So you could have bought this for $1 risk and then scalped out a little bit as it went up. It would have been a challenge to hold all the way to 5. But these are the ones I love to see. If you can get in for $1 and get out at 10 or 11, that's a 10x, where it grows in value by 10 times. And hopefully when we get some more direction with Amazon, we'll see more of these coming back, and I'll be excited to share those that I'm able to catch. But yeah, that's what I got. Really hope this helps. It was definitely really just a whirlwind to kind of keep track of what movements were happening, making sure I'm looking at the options that are the best ones to be trading, but also the best ones to limit my risk. And each trade I picked, each trade I took, I risked an R, and just let it play out in the chart. I'm adding a rule now to wait to move my stop, and that's because of I didn't see that happen here. It just moved straight on through. Saw a little bit. Saw a little bit of a little bit of an S curve here, and I was too aggressive with my stop to try and just lock something in. So I'm adding that rule in so that I can really just wait for this kind of move to happen, because it's going to happen. It did here too. It just happened sooner. It happened with this one candle, instead of pulling back and making a new lower candle. But anyway, I'll continue to track these with the stock and the options in both directions, and try and figure out how we can do this every day of the week. Fridays are easier because everything gets closer to expiration and closer to the strike that it's going to be expiring nearest, the at the money. When it's earlier in the week for the weekly option, we're going to be looking at options that are further away, and I got to figure out which ones are the appropriate ones. Just help us track these movements. And I've shown you some examples of that the last few days. So like I said, hope this helps. This is Justin AMZN. Thanks.